You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz for great radio. Get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
You know, I wish we could find some way to hold people accountable. Free speech is a great idea, but we're in a war.
To make sure the economy doesn't collapse, I've abandoned free market principles to save the free market system.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
You're listening to Common Sense Radio with A.J. Davis on the Lanterns Radio Network.
Welcome to the program, folks. Glad to have you here today. AJ Davis here on the Lanterns Radio Network. Follow us on Twitter at LanternsBuzz, at Facebook at Lanterns, and follow me on Twitter at Oregon Redskin and on Facebook at AJ Davis Podcast. Also, you can check us out on Google Play, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Stitcher, and soon to be iHeartRadio. There's a couple shows already on the iHeartRadio app, and more to come in the future. Well, tonight we're going to cover the news of the week. From my perspective, a Portland, Maine school district who is sick of white people. A story out of SMU University. And also the Oregon mom who is getting her kids taken away. We will cover that all on the Lanterns Media Network. Well, let's get to the news of the week. Coming up, we have the eclipse, the solar eclipse on August 21st. And I know we're a little bit ahead of the game, but for the last couple weeks, I live in Oregon, and that's all they have been talking about, handing out literature, sending out all kinds of stuff regarding this eclipse. And apparently our government tells us that in Oregon, 1 million people are going to come to see the solar eclipse, because we're the first state where it will start in the path of totality, I don't know, whatever the heck it's called. But they're saying we are going to be overloaded with 1 million more people. I don't think so, because as you get on Facebook, and that's what a majority of people communicate with, there's an Oregon Eclipse Facebook page, and it says 33,000 people going, 33,000 people interested. Okay, so double that. Quadruple it. You're only about 120,000 people. There's no way 1 million people are coming to Oregon for this eclipse. But the local businesses, everything, are capitalizing off this, and that's why I love capitalism. I love it. They're selling T-shirts, the path of the solar eclipse. And I know this is going to be shocking, but government hasn't stopped them from selling stuff in the state of Oregon yet. And there's a whole clear path from Oregon to the East Coast. I think it ends in Georgia. And it's going to be the first visible solar eclipse in the U.S. since 1991. So, I mean, it's a pretty significant time. What, 16? No, it'd be about 26 years ago. I remember I was in grade school when the last one happened, and all the teachers rounded us up outside on the playground and gave us these glasses to look up into for the eclipse. And I honestly remember it like it was yesterday. It was not really exciting, to be honest with you. I think I was in 3rd or 4th grade. We had more fun just being able to go outside and not have to do schoolwork. And it's supposed to hit Oregon around 10 a.m. on the 21st, and I will take some video because it's supposed to get really dark. I don't remember how it all happens, but I just remember us going out to recess. But I'm going to video it, and I'll shoot out a video when it does happen so everyone can see from the state of Oregon what the solar eclipse was like. And I know you will be so excited to see that. So the next thing is, and I'm doing the hard work for you guys here on Common Sense Radio with AJ Davis, is I'm following LeVar Ball. He had another outlandish comment this week, and I think someone put him, the greatest, Michael Jordan, the greatest, put him in his place. He said he could beat Michael Jordan. Well, Michael Jordan came back and told him, well, I think it was at a camp, he says, I could beat LeVar Ball with one arm and one leg. And I believe that. Mr. 2.2 points a game. Ooh, man. I'll keep an eye on him for you guys. So the next topic I want to get into is, and I talked about it last week, was a little bit of Colin Kaepernick, but I want to dive deep into it this week as Ray Lewis and Shannon Sharpe were on ESPN with Skip Bayless talking about why he hasn't got signed. And why Shannon Sharpe said it's racial. I don't think it's racial. I think it's NFL is a business. He's not a very good quarterback. I reached out to one of my friends that's an African American, and he's very knowledgeable in football. And he agreed with me. Colin Kaepernick is not very good. It's not about the race, in my opinion. He's just not very good. He wasn't accurate in the Super Bowl when he played. He just was not. He was a product of the system. So I got a clip for you to listen to, and it's from It's from YouTube. It's about Ray Lewis and Shannon Sharpe going back and forth. Listen to the whole thing, and then we'll digest it.
Yeah. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the police brutality. See, what they're trying to do is that when we talk about police brutality, they talk about Chicago, they talk about Detroit, they talk about Baltimore. Okay. You want me to come up with a solution that you helped put me in.
I 100% understand what you're saying. And what I'm trying to tell you is there's no issue with what you're talking about with police brutality. We're sitting here as men.
Yeah.
So let's understand this. We're sitting here as men. And me and you, as men, ourselves, not watch nobody else deal with police brutality. I lived it.
Oh, I know.
So understand that. Just understand the dynamic of what we're talking about. I'm not talking about if this person stood out. It's not too many people. Say it for what it is. It ain't too many people gonna stand up to go into black neighborhoods and worry about black folks killing themselves. That's factual. So sooner or later, then we figure that out, then we're gonna start taking care of ourselves. So when I started to start to understand these things, Shay, what I started to understand was that ain't Steve Bisciotti's fight what happened to Freddie Gray. That ain't no owner's fight.
Yes, it is, though, Ray.
If it is,
this is America.
If it is, then all of our owners should get together and go in these urban neighborhoods and clean it up. Why wouldn't you?
Because, Ray, they don't care because it's an issue they're never going to have to face. It's people like you and I that's been there and know people that's faced these issues. You talking about Steve Bisciotti is never going to have to worry about the police beating him or a family member down. Jerry Jones, Mr. Kraft, they never going to have to worry about that.
That's what I just said.
Boy, those two were going at it. But I stand with what Ray Lewis said in it. The gist of it is you have to have people like Ray Lewis going into the community to help combat the issues. You have to have people that in these tough communities like Baltimore, Chicago, that can go in and help. Kaepernick could be a huge hero if that's what he was doing instead of protesting the national anthem, protesting the U.S. flag, and making these absurd comments. Because Americans love America, and the flag and the national anthem represents the military, and everybody loves America. How can you not? Okay, maybe not, because Colin Kaepernick feels like he's oppressed by him. And earlier in the segment, the number one thing that Ray Lewis brought up is why Colin Kaepernick's not getting signed. And I touched on it before. The clip is he's not very good. And Ray Lewis has a big influence on the Ravens organization. They asked for his input on a lot of things. he said that the number one thing for a team, not just the Ravens, any team, is to have a football player that is 100% committed to the football and the team. I mean, this is coming from a former player. He is 100% right. 100% right. You need to be 100% committed to the team. You need to be 100% committed to your fans. You need to be 100% committed to your teammates. And if Colin Kaepernick wants to be a social or justice warrior or a community organizer, go ahead. It's America. You can do whatever you want. But with these other players like Richard Sherman getting up at the microphone, there's 5 backup quarterbacks that were signed over Colin Kaepernick that are horrible. Well, the NFL is not require the teams to sign someone because of their social beliefs, and no one should. Every team should have their right to do whatever they want. Hell, they signed Michael Vick after dogfighting with very careful consent from Tony Dungy, from many different people. Okay? He came back into the NFL. And I think that's where they're kind of trying to say, well, Colin Kaepernick didn't commit a crime. He didn't commit a crime. It's not about that. It's about respecting the country that you live in, and the military is what represents, in my opinion, that's what a lot of Americans think of. When you think about the American flag, you think of the military and the national anthem. That's why people thought he was disrespecting the military. That's, in a nutshell, what I think. And then after this interview, his girlfriend tweets out, "We know exactly who you are, Ray Lewis. #coward who got off a murder trial because you had money and fame. Smells like #OJ." You're not helping your buddy. Well, not your buddy, your boyfriend. Well, Colin Kaepernick, because first off, he's tall. He's, 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", whatever he is. I don't really care, to be honest with you, because I don't think he's a very good quarterback. And he's not. But when you're tweeting out stuff like that, and you're connected to him, that's not very good. Then after this interview that Ray Lewis and Shannon Sharpe were going back and forth, Ray Lewis sends out a piece of advice to Colin Kaepernick, and you have to listen to it, and I think it is spot on. Here you go.
How crazy is I'm just leaving set at Fox and got all of these texts and stuff about all of this Colin Kaepernick stuff and all this stuff. Let me explain something to you guys, all right? I'm going to be very simple with this. While a bunch of people are talking about this man, Cap, let me tell you something, brother. I pray for you more than you've ever can imagine. All right, your name is in my Bible. That God gives you the vision that you did. I applaud you for the things that you stood up for. My brother, everybody else can speak for you, but until you speak for yourself and demand what you want to do in life, it's totally on you. But it's almost crazy that you see people always trying to respond. Let me tell you something, my man. I've made mistakes in my life, but I promise you, if you look at my track record, the mistakes I've made, I've never repeated twice. You understand? And so what I want to tell you is, from man to man, brother, I ain't got nothing against you. I wish you the best in life. I hope you chase whatever God got for you to chase, all right? And once again, I applaud what you stood up for, because I'm in the streets every day. So while people talking about what this and why Ray said this and why Ray said that, Ray ain't saying nothing. And if people really want to help you, if they really want to help you, man, they'll pray for you, brother. All right? They'll lead you the right way and stop encouraging you to be caught up in some of this nonsense. The battles you fighting, brother, people way before us been fighting these for many, many, many years. And that's why I take each and every one of these kids, and that's why I take them away from their environments and give them something else to see in life. And that's why I played the way I played. The football field is our sanctuary. If you do nothing else, young man, get back on the football field and let your play speak for itself. And what you do off the field, don't let too many people know, because they going to judge you anyway, no matter what you do, no matter if it's good or bad. All right? Cap, be good. Take care of yourself. Brother for life. A lot of people talking for you. A lot of people got your back. Take care of yourself. Peace.
I think we get three things from that. And it's just my perspective, because I think that was an amazing response. Love is the answer. Prayer and God. And personal responsibility. What more can you ask for? Ray Lewis was just stating facts right there. He's praying for him every day, no matter the situation, and let God take control. The answer is love. It is the number one thing. Man, people get, because I disagree with how Ray Lewis is saying, oh, you can protest. I mean, I agree with the protest. You can protest. I disagree with his tactics and the ideology behind it. But I can stand with Ray Lewis when he is speaking in those terms, when he's speaking truth and facts. It is not their responsibility to sign him just because he's out there making a social justice warrior pack with everybody, and it's so socially great out there. The NFL's a business, a private business, and they're not required to sign anyone. And then Ray Lewis follows that up with, love is the answer. I'm praying for you. God loves you. I love you. And I can stand with that. We're going to take a break right here. You're listening to Common Sense Radio on the Lanterns Media Network.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Check out Lumberlax. This is a company started by an 11-year-old Kai Talley. He plays lacrosse, and the money that they profit off of the business, they use to help less fortunate kids that cannot play lacrosse. He partners with nonprofits to give money to kids that physically cannot play the game due to special needs or illness. This is an amazing thing that he is doing, and he is extremely involved in his community. Take a look at the website, lumberlax.com, or email them directly at lumberlax@comcast.net and order a custom shaft for yourself or someone else. They also do coaches gifts, team sticks. They work with people to do fundraisers and so much more. Please check out lumberlax.com, official sponsor of Common Sense Radio with AJ Davis on the Lanterns Radio Network. Welcome back to the program, folks. You are listening to Common Sense Radio on the Lanterns Radio Network. Do me a favor, follow us on all the social media outlets. Subscribe on all the platforms that we are on. So the story I want to cover this segment is about Southern Methodist University and their American-hating policies. So as most of you know, Southern Methodist University is in Texas. And some of the groups placed 3,000 of the miniature American flags on the school's Dallas Hall lawn to honor, all the lives that were lost on 9/11. And they've done it for a number of years. And all of a sudden this year, policy has changed. They cannot do it anymore. And it's actually pretty disturbing because of all the groups, from the young Republicans to the feminist groups on campus, wrote a letter to the president of the university about concerns for why these flags cannot be flown in this Dallas South lawn. And it's a large main gathering area where a lot of the students come. Yet they want to move it to what the university is quoted as saying an approved area where everybody else has their flyers or anything like. Well, this isn't about your darn flyers, their president of the university, the staff. This is about 3,000 Americans who have lost their life on this country on a terrorist attack. It is a horrible thing. It is terrible that a university, and this university is private, I get it. A private university can do whatever they want. But whenever you're taking federal funds for tuition, that's absurd. And you're in America? I mean, if we're talking about the USSR, that's a different story. Some of the students are quoted as saying that if you're going to move these flags that are honoring the victims of 9/11 to the area that they're going to move it to, you might as well not have it. As a veteran, that it sickens me. And then to say, well, we can move it where everyone else has their approved flyers. This isn't about that. And I know I said that again, but my goodness. This is a president of a university that his salary is $1.1 million a year, and you're mad because they're putting flags up that might trigger other people's opinion. I'd like to see the records of how many people have complained about in the last, couple years that these flags were there. I bet you nobody has. Nobody has complained. And if there was, there's maybe 1 to 2 at the most. And it's probably just people that are communist, are socialists, or that hate America. But the college party, not the college parties, the groups that are on, from the young Republicans to the young Democrats to the feminist group, they all joined together and sent letters. But, this college president would not have a problem if it was something he cared for. He doesn't care. The only thing he cares about is making his bottom line. And that's a lot of the problem that's wrong with America. Is people are just so inconsiderate and all they care about is themselves. It's only $70,000 a year for room and board and tuition. So I think, we're probably not having just anybody going to this college. Especially when his housing stipend, which a couple years ago, he was such a good guy and agreed that 1 year they would not have to pay him his $100,000. Huh. But you're worried about 3,000 flags that are put up for Americans that lost their lives on this soul on a terrorist attack? My goodness. Come on, brother. Things like this just drive me crazy. Maybe it's because I've been in the Persian Gulf. Maybe it's because I served on a U.S. Navy ship in many difficult situations overseas. Maybe it's because I'm an American-loving human being. I love America. It's God, country, family. I love this country. There's nothing that has ever been better than this country. Ever. And I say that confidently. Ever. And there never will be. America is good because it's people. America is good because it's military. America is good for their passion. And that's what leads us to this next disturbing story. And I'm sorry to be kind of a Debbie Downer for you guys, but it's about the Portland, Maine school district in Maine, because there's Portland, Oregon, and I know I'm in Oregon, land of the salmon out here, and wine country. But this is in Maine, so we're up in the Northeast. Portland Public School Superintendent Xavier Botana says in his school district more than 40% of his kids identify as students of color, yet nearly 97% of the district's teachers are white. I'm going to say, time out. Time out. I guarantee you, not all of those students identify, or staff members identify as being white. I wouldn't if I was there. I am Caucasian. And I can assure you that many other of my fellow whiteys, because we can't say that term anymore, white. And in Portland, Maine public schools don't want any more white teachers because 97% of their teachers are white, according to what their HR records. But I can assure you, some of them are identifying as African Americans. Some of them are identifying as Pacific Islanders. Myself, I identify as Caucasian. I mean, how many of the teachers identify as Caucasian? And it's funny, they're so, what it seems to be, anti-white. We can't have any more white teachers. We cannot. So I just pulled up Google and started looking at their pillars, or, well, that's what the school district I work in is called. Their comprehensive plan, for which is achievement, whole student, equity, and people. The people goal undergirds the other three goals. It states the Portland Public Schools attracts, supports, and retains talented and diverse people who use their strength to achieve our shared goals. Time out. Stop it right there. Who cares what color you are? What you... well, in the public schools, you can identify as a toaster and get a job. But who cares? Who cares where you're from? What color you are? If you are talented, if you are qualified for the job, why would you not get the job? Who cares? We live in a crazy world right now where, and I'm not, anti-diversity or anything like that. But what I care about is, are you qualified for the job? Can you help the students? And it's not just in Portland, Maine. It's all over the United States. Help these kids read, write, do arithmetic, and critically think. But what the public school system has come to is, it's a social experiment. That's what it seems like. Oh, brother. What are you going to do whenever they're sending stuff out like this? Quote, the Portland Public Schools is Maine's largest and most diverse school district. As part of its people goal, the district is launching an initiative to diversify its workforce. The initiative will kick off this summer with a program called Teach Portland, which will develop a pipeline of diverse educators who more closely reflect the diversity of Portland Public Schools. And the University of Southern Maine seeks to build interest in the teaching profession, while also increasing the diversity of teachers in Maine. The program will provide an opportunity for participants to experience teaching firsthand through a paid internship and a PPS summer learning classroom. Participants also will attend and receive credit for an intro course in education at USM, tuition free. Excuse my word fumbling right there. But go back, which will develop a pipeline of diverse educators who more closely reflect the diversity of PPS students and their families. So we're going to create this pipeline of student teachers and teachers, and we do not care if they can read, write, or teach effectively. We care about their skin color, where they're from, more than their credentials, more than anything else. Because you go to the sentence before it, the initiative will kick off this summer with a program called Teach Portland, launching an initiative to diversify its workforce. Call me crazy. I just want kids to read, write, and arithmetic and critically think. Because when I was in school, that's what we did. Stop worrying about this social experiment. It's failing. My kids could care less if their teacher's black, Hispanic, Indian. My kids want someone that can teach them. And I think a majority of, I can promise you, 90% of Americans feel the same way. There's that 10% that probably is, no white teachers will teach my kids. Okay, you are entitled to your own opinion. But when it comes down to it, you want someone that can teach your kid, can read, write, critically think, and do arithmetic. Do you really care what color they are? Do you? That's the question I'm asking each and every one of you that are listening to it right now. Does the color of skin really matter? Because I already know the answer. It's no. But think of your kids. Would you be upset if your kid was being taught by a Hispanic or a black teacher and you're white, or vice versa? I know I wouldn't. I have some friends that are Hispanic and African American that teach, and they are wonderful people. Wonderful. I would want my kids, no doubt, to be taught by them. Not only are they God-fearing, but they're respectful. They're fair. Every kid that I've ever met out of these teachers' rooms, love them. Love them. Again, the question is, would it matter to you if it was your kids? Think about that. That's what I want you to think about. We're going to go ahead and take a break. You're listening to Common Sense Radio with AJ Davis on the Lanterns Radio Network.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz for great radio. Get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Welcome back to the program, folks. You're probably wondering why I started this segment out with the USSR national anthem. Well, I'm in Oregon, as most of you know, and I've talked about the failures of Oregon government over the last 4 to 5 weeks, different stories, and I'm living it, folks. I'm in progressive utopia. And this next story about Amy Fabrini and Eric Ziegler has shaken me to the core. It gave me goosebumps listening to their story. As most of you know, Oregon's DHS took Amy Fabrini and Eric Ziegler's kids from them because their definition of why they took it, they described it as they have low IQ scores. They have a better opportunity to live with the foster families financially. It is absolutely like Mother Russia. That's how it feels. It's what it appears like. These two people seem like just everyday Americans. Yes, some of them, everybody has their issues. But we're telling people that they can have their kids based off their IQ score? based off their finances? So will the government come and take your kids if you're feeding them cups of noodles for lunch? Will they come take your kids because your IQ score is low? That isn't out of control. A state worker that was a volunteer for Amy and Eric worked as a volunteer for DHS to monitor this family. She would go every Friday for 3 hours and check out the conditions. Report after report was given to CPS, Child Protective Services, which is a branch of DHS, about how this family is loving, it's caring. There's no abuse. There's no neglect in this family. Why are they keeping these kids away from their mother and father? They have a 3 or 4 year old that was taken away from them not too long ago. And Amy gave birth to Eric's child recently, and they took the baby from the hospital out of the mother's possession. I mean, talk about Mother Russia. This is absolutely absurd. And I stand with Amy and Eric and every other American that demands that the Department of Human Services and the Child Protective Service in Bend, Oregon, give these kids back. This is to the judge who will hear this case in the appellate court. Give those kids back to their mother and father. They deserve. Study after study has shown that children that stay with their biological, loving family will succeed, will flourish. The reports that were submitted to CPS from someone that has been in the field for 20 plus years, that's never had any issues. And they were not even, whenever Amy and Eric went to court against CPS and DHS, they were never brought to the court. They were never. So, and the state, I'm sure this went all the way up to our wonderful Governor Kate Brown, who is in charge of DHS and appointed the Honorable Clyde, I'm going to butcher this, Sayeki? Well, Governor Brown, the head of your DHS, sent you a letter June 22nd, 2017. And I'm going to do a bit of quoting because the failures of DHS, Child Protective Service, from top down, bottom up, is on your hands, Governor Brown. It is on your hands, the failure of this department. This is the letter that the director of DHS sent you. Dear Governor Brown, and I quote, "When you asked me to lead the Department of Human Services in November 2015, my charge was clear: to ensure the safety of Oregon children and youth who come into contact with DHS and increase accountability for their care." End quote. This was a long-term priority. And so, whenever Director Saiki, I'm going to just call her Director S. Director S was put in charge back in November 2015. It was evident that there was failures. And then a report, maybe 6-7 months later, in May of 2016, they determined that there was approximately 6,000 assessments statewide that had been opened over 90 days, where kids have not been seen, not been cared for. So they are so far in trouble, so deep into this that it's just like the Pelletier case in Massachusetts. You have to fight until you cannot fight anymore. And that's what we're going to do. That's why I'm bringing focus to this week, because it's just a story that needs to be told nationwide. If you're listening to my voice, you need to share this podcast. You need to share it with everyone possible and tell them to listen to the last segment. This is the most important segment that you will hear all week, all month. We have got to get this family back. And it's evident. Back in 2015, was it 2015? No, it was 2016, November 17th, there's an article in the Oregon Live, which is the Oregonian, which some people like to call it the Daily Dead Fish Wrapper because it's good for wrapping fish, but they actually were honest in an article. They actually did journalism, because it's kind of what I try to do, bring investigative journalist approach. Do not go in with an agenda. And this could be just an opinion. This is politics and elections section. A new federal study finds Oregon child welfare system is failing across the board when it comes to keeping thousands of children in state care safe and healthy. According to this report, caseworkers are still taking too long to check on allegations of abuse and neglect. Okay, so the volunteer person that's been in this casework monitoring families for 20 years wrote you report after report after 3 hours a week of observation. And my wife and I were talking about it. Yeah, 3 hours doesn't seem like a lot. But you can get the feel, you can get that gut feeling. Everyone has that gut feeling. And if you've been doing it for 20 years, you're going to get that gut feeling. You know what to look for abuse and neglect. Well, you didn't have to get it with Amy and Eric. There was no abuse, there was no neglect. Yeah, Amy's dad made some complaints, but that seems like a pretty vindictive person that you have to go to DHS? I mean, there's still investigations going on, but so far on the outside, it's not looking good for the state of Oregon. It really is not. This report also said Oregon is trending in the wrong direction. And Director S told Oregon lawmakers it's very likely that Oregon will not meet national standards in the final report. And you're worried about two kids that show no signs of abuse, no signs of neglect. You just are describing them as not very intelligent, as not financially capable of taking care of this family. This is insane to me. And it has to be insane to you as well, because these kids, Christopher and Hunter are the name of the kids that were taken away from Amy and Eric. Those two belong back with Amy and Eric. Man. And Governor Brown, at that time, 2015, was replacing Jonathan. I'm sorry, not Jonathan. I'm thinking of something else. Of Governor John Kitzapper, in 2015, and appointed this interim director of DHS. And it took you a year and a half to make this person permanent. And a year after Governor Brown has been in the governorship, whatever you want to call it, she called the system a trouble that's just unacceptable, and said it angers me at such an incredible level that we basically lent a blind eye to what was happening to these children. Well, Governor Brown, what's happening to Hunter and Christopher is atrocious. You have somebody that has been blackballed, that was fired, that was put almost in a blender and turned on because they spoke up truth to the supervisors at DHS. And you're worried. You're saying there's troubles at DHS. Well, why aren't you doing something about this? I know, because you are too afraid to come out and eat it on this. Because when you come out, you're going to look like a fool. But you know what? If I were you, instead of having it run through the court system, I would come out right now, Governor Brown, and I would stand there and I would say, we have made a mistake, and have the director of DHS with you. Have everybody in that office lined up with you and say, we've made a mistake. I am sorry from the bottom of my heart. Christopher and Hunter will go back to Amy and Eric, and they can live a happy life. Why can they not go and do this? It's about pride. It's about the failures of government. I've told you many times about the failures of the legislative session, Governor Brown. Well, here's another failure, DHS. And I'm scared. I am absolutely scared. Whenever a state agency is bringing up cognitive abilities, IQ score, finances, as a reason of why you cannot have your kids, I know why my wife smacks me and says, you got to watch how you discipline the kids. And I don't go over the top, but I have no problems giving any of the 3 of my kids a spank on the rear when they've been rude, nasty, disrespectful, anything. I have no problem. But now, I cannot. I cannot take that chance anymore. I'm scared to death in Oregon, because who's going to turn me in? Who's going to come after me and get my license plate number, and then all 3 of my kids are taken away from me? I couldn't imagine being a father of 3. Ugh. When you can take care of your kids, as Amy and Eric have clearly done. They've even taken classes that CPS has asked them to. They've done everything with no issues, yet they can't get their kids back. And they're going up for adoption. The state is trying to permanently adopt these kids out. When Amy was on Glenn Beck's program last week, she was talking how they need to raise money. They need to get a lawyer from out of the area because everybody's working together. Everyone's and the Bend Redmond area are all buddy, and she wants someone that can represent them from a non-biased opinion, from the truth, that's seeking the truth and not playing games. So there's a change.org petition created by Mrs. Hagenbach. Shireen is the volunteer caseworker who is currently volunteering her time to be a life coach for this family and do everything in her power to help this family. I mean, God bless you. God bless you for doing that. She's working in the kingdom of God to help. This is fantastic because she doesn't have to. She doesn't have to at all. But she feels the calling, I assume, from God, that we have to get this resolved. I signed the petition that's going to go to all the politicians, all to everyone down the line, with 7,059 of my closest friends that believe in Amy and Eric, that believe in divine intervention. And that's what we need here. That's what is going to have to happen. We're going to need a miracle. God is on our side. There's also a GoFundMe, and I will send out tweets, I'll send out my Facebook posts about these campaigns. The GoFundMe one is GoFundMe.com/ /bringing Ziegler Boys home. You can put that in Google. I'm sure that will come up. But again, I will shoot out these. Their goal was to raise $30,000 to help get a lawyer that will represent them. And guess who created this GoFundMe as well? You guessed it. Shireen Hagenbeck, the volunteer that is just an angel to this family. She created it August 1st, and it's already up over $35,000. That's amazing. That is just fantastic. All I can say is please share this podcast with everyone. Follow this story. Share the GoFundMe. If you can donate to it. Sign the petition. Sign the petition and share on Facebook, Twitter, all the social media about this story. We have to make this a big deal, because it is a big deal. Because if this happens, who else are they going to come after? What else are they going to do? If you can donate $5, donate $5. If all you can do is sign the petition, sign the petition. I signed the petition. Also pray for this family. That's 3 things you have to do. You have to pray for this family, sign the petition, and share. That's all you have to do. That's a minimum. That is the minimum. And I know you will listen to God's calling in your life, because this is not right. This is not right. From Oregon, this is AJ Davis on the Lanterns Radio Network. Good night and God bless.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.